Hey guys, it's Hudson from Zill and Pristine, and today I'm sitting down with storyteller and filmmaker Takai. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Good morning.
So let's jump right into it. So you are a storyteller and filmmaker. When did you realize that this was something that you wanted to pursue long term?
Yeah, so it wasn't I've been in filmmaking, I've been in storytelling since early high school. I would say high school is where I got my more technical knowledge with like ISO, shutter speed, composition, framing. And so that was like kind of my formative years and foundation of filmmaking. And then when I transitioned into college, that's where I got my more, directorial standpoint, my more writing background and experience. But it truly and honestly wasn't until I read this book called *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari um, that I was exposed and introduced to the power of storytelling. Because throughout that book, he pretty much goes throughout our history as human beings up until now, and his thesis, and he explains that um, pretty much the reason why and the reasons how we got to where we are now, and how we came together as a community, and how we formed institutions, how we formed societies and civilizations, is all rooted in the stories that we tell ourselves. And so after I read that, and after I was, given that knowledge by this book, I'm like, oh wait, I'm really, really skilled and talented in filmmaking, but then I also have this new understanding that stories have the power to change the world. So I'm like, I feel like I've already been endowed with this ability to, use my storytelling to bring forward change. And so it only was right for me to, pursue my dream and my passion of storytelling. But I would definitely say it was that book, *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, that like really like hammered in the importance of storytelling for me. And then after I read it and finished, I'm like, yeah, this is what I have to do, because it was the way he breaks it down is so like enlightening and goes really, really deep in depth about um, how we got to where we are as a civilization through the power of storytelling. So that's I would definitely say that's where I first discovered and first kind of realized, okay, this is the path I want to go down.
So it was definitely like in college. That's when you realized it.
Uh, it was actually, I read that book after college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like my whole college experience was, of course, you got readings and writings, but I didn't enjoy it because it was never something that I wanted to do, or it was never topics that I was interested in. But it wasn't until after college I really started getting deep into reading more, and actually reading shit that interests me. And so it was after college that I, found this book and, kind of dedicated my life towards to storytelling after reading it.
Okay. Definitely guys to check out that book. So you
Yeah,
are
it's
a
good.
storyteller and a filmmaker. When you work with different clients, do you tell your story or theirs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I think it's a little bit of both. So a client will come to me, or somebody with an idea will come to me and be like, look, I have this great idea. I want to capture this, and that. And so then I will kind of take my knowledge, my background, and the vision that I want to put out, and kind of see how we can, bridge the two together. So I don't think it would be like 100% my story or like 100% their story, but ultimately, I feel like when somebody comes to me work and that wants to work, they know what I can offer in terms of crafting story and crafting narrative, and building those characters. And so I think it would be a mix of both, a mix of me understanding that I want to, push this vision, have a specific way that I want to tell a story, and seeing how their idea, their vision can, combine and collaborate with that. Because there's things like, my thing is, I don't want to retell the same narratives that we've been telling ourselves. And so if I'm brought a project that's another black boy gets shot by a cop, I'm gonna kind of rethink it and be like, okay, well, what's the way in which we can do this where it's not so head on, or what's the way in which we can do this where it's progressive, and it provokes thought in people, so that it's not just that same narrative being told. Because for me, I think it's super, super, super important that we be intentional about the stories we tell ourselves, and be intentional and like purposeful. Like they can't just be here and then fall off. Like I want them to have more meaning and intention behind them. So I think if somebody comes to me with an idea or a project or anything, I think it would be a mix of both of the vision and the story that I want to push, and mix with, how I see how their idea and purpose can, combine and collaborate with what I already have, going.
Okay. And piggybacking off what you said, you do also want to create a community and push these new narratives. Why is that so important? Like people like to play it safe, yet you want to go left and be like, hey, this is new. Why is that so important to you?
Yeah, this is like a really, really, this is like so I have the stories I tell myself and and what I have as my artistry as Takai the artist, but also have this community called Takai Design, in which I strive to empower artists, dreamers, and thought leaders to ultimately um, curate culture through storytelling and design. And so what I mean by that is forming this community of new thinkers, of new visionaries, of new artists that create the world in which we see ourselves that's separate from what we already have. And so I think that is so important because we live in a society, we live in a world in which um, we believe this is the only way in which we can live life. And this is the only way in which we have been living life because it's been working. But I've came to learn and came to realize that this is just only one way in which we can live life and one way that it can work. And so a part of my new forward thinking, a part of my passion, a part of my vision is being able to show the world that, look, there's this other way of life in which we can live that doesn't require us to become slaves to capitalism, that doesn't require us to go to war, that doesn't require us um, to spread hate, that doesn't require us to have economic disparities, that doesn't require us to have racial inequality. So it's like all these things are rooted in one way of life in which we can live. But because we've been living this way of life for so long, and it's been so hammered into our core being, a lot of us, many of us, even including myself, haven't realized that, okay, this is one way in which we can live. Does it work or not is up to people to decide, but this is just one way in which we can live our lives. And so I'm focused on creating another way in which we can live our lives, in a way in which we are inspired to be artists, in a way in which we are our freedom to create is an inherent human right, in a way in which everybody has the opportunity and the possibility to dream and fulfill those dreams, in which everybody has, I believe everybody is an artist. If every child is an artist and every adult is a child, is what I like to say, which means everybody is an artist. And I think we've grown up in a world where we've been conditioned to kind of mask over that inner child and mask over that artist within us, and kind of forget that our core essence and our core being is to be creative and to create freely, and to be able to live a happy life and live a life rooted in freedom based upon what we want for ourselves. I believe I want everybody to ultimately be happy. And so it's so important for me to create this community, and so important for me to push this vision, because if I can find like-minded people, if I can find other artists, other leaders, other thought leaders, other dreamers and visionaries, I know it's possible that we can start slowly creating this world I see for everybody, because ultimately I believe that we need to live in a world in which everybody can dream, and then everybody has opportunity to fulfill those dreams. And so that's so important to me. And I actually want to read something I saw the other day on Instagram that was kind of like rooted in what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it says, "Dear artists, if you're struggling to make art you love, maybe you forgot what you loved about making art. Social media has inadvertently forced us into nonstop performance pressure. You know who didn't feel forced to create and never had artist block? The kid you once were that used to make art for fun before it came work or your daily validation post." And so to me, that means like we have all these distractions, we have all this noise, we have all this cloud fog cover that's either blocking us or in the way from realizing that we need to be able to be more in tune with that inner child that we have in ourselves to create the lives we want and create the worlds we want to see. Because there's so many things that tell us this is the only way of life. And so I'm like, fuck all of those things. This is not the only way of life. We can create whatever the fuck we want and live however the fuck we want, as long as you believe in yourself that you can do it. So that's why it's so important for me to create that, because that's what drives me. So yeah.
That's deep. That's deep. Um, you definitely have an intense job, you know, how you create your stories and filmmaking. How do you stay motivated?
Yeah, I really, you got some great questions. I really love this question. I stay motivated. So for me, my core essence and the reason I've ever decided to be creative is when I was a young kid, I was always that kid in the group that was always asking why. I was always curious about why things were the way they were. I don't know like why I was like this. I don't know like how I got like this, but I just know that I would always be like, what is this for? And people be like, shut the hell up. Like, why are you asking questions? Like, just do it, or shut the hell
Go
up. It
along
doesn't
with it.
matter. Yeah, just go along with it. But I was always deep inside of me, I always ask the question, why? And I feel like that question, why, is the burning desire of me that keeps me motivated to create, to follow my dreams and to do the things in which I strive to do. Because I feel like as an artist and as a creator, every artist has that same burning desire of the question why. It's either why things are the way they are, why can't I create this, why do we have to live this way or one way, what would this look like if I've done it this way. And so for me, the thing that keeps me motivated at my core are the questions why and what and how. And so those are the things that I constantly kind of like ruminate in my mind and constantly think about and constantly um, go searching for the answers for. And so like literally, so since I grew up in Oakland, California. I'm from Oakland, California. And that's where I got like my foundation as an artist, as a creative. And so growing up in Oakland, I would kind of look around and, I would see poverty. I would hear about gun violence. I would see, robbings, just, stuff growing up in an urban city. Um, and the thing that hit home for me the most was like really seeing homelessness. And I would always see Black people in these homeless situations. I like to say loveless, because it's like you can be homeless without a home, which means you don't have anybody to house you. But as somebody that's loveless, you don't have anybody that loves you. And so when you see these loveless people on the street, you realize that they're in positions and situations where they lack love ultimately. And so I like to say loveless, because it's way, way deeper than just not having a home. It's rooted in not having love. And I think that's what's so, so, so important. But based upon seeing these loveless people on these streets, and these loveless people being Black people that look just like me, I would just be like, I would just ask why, like, why are Black people in these situations? Why am I seeing people that look like me in the worst fucking situations, in the city? And so that question got me digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So I would be like, okay, so they don't have money. Okay, so why do they have money? Okay, it's a disproportionate distribution of wealth. Okay, so why is it disproportionate distribution of wealth? Okay, because we live in a capitalist society. Okay, so why do we live in a capitalist society? Because capitalism is what we believe to be valuable. So I just kept asking myself these questions until I got to the root of it, which goes back to where we started at, which is ultimately it's the stories we tell ourselves that we believe this is only one way in which we can live. And so I'm like, one way is here and I'm going completely the fucking opposite way. No, one way is here and I'm going like here. Like I'm going as far away from the norm than which I can. And so that's what really keeps me motivated, is asking those questions about why, how, what, and like, just keep that shit literally makes my mind just keep going.
That's dope. You mentioned homeless people. If you had like the perfect budget, would you ever do like a film or documentary on them?
Yeah. So that's definitely something I would love to do. Um, but I always get kind of at this crossroads between just highlighting the stories in which homeless people live and highlighting their lives versus changing how society thinks about people that are homeless, because I feel like that's the deeper impact in which I seek to create. I can highlight the stories and I can tell the stories of the homeless people, these are, they lived in, not so good situations. They were struggling and all this. But I kind of want to lean towards like, okay, let me focus on the group of people that are kind of enabling this and the group of people that kind of look over this. Not to say that there's no responsibility on the people that are homeless. It's drugs, it's mental health, it's all that. But it's really as a society creating a story in which we look differently at people that are in loveless and houseless situations, to which we humanize them, because a lot of times we dehumanize people that are houseless. We dehumanize people that are loveless because we don't see their value as a human being. And so it's kind of recreating that value and retelling the story of homeless people so that the greater society can rethink and rewire and decolonize our brains to believe that these are human beings that are deserving of love, that have been put in fucked up situations that have causes. These are only the situations in which houseless people are in are only, it's constant circumstances in which have got into this situation. Good or bad decisions, you can't ultimately decide what these decisions were for them, but we see where they're at now, and how can we change that by changing how we think about their situation now. So that's what I would focus on, whether it be a documentary or a film. So that would definitely be something that's like down the line for me.
You definitely like to get people thinking a lot. So when you're creating
Yeah.
a story, what elements besides that like do you incorporate?
Yeah, so for me, I think that it's very important to stay on the human level of things. And what I mean by that is creating a story in which bridges our human connection by the things in which we already know. And I mean that by crafting characters that feel real, crafting plot stories that feel real, crafting scenes that feel rooted in what we kind of know, but have a sprinkle of the unknown and the sprinkle of what we don't know yet. And so it's telling a short film that would feel like we've seen it before, that would feel like it's natural, that would feel like you know where it's going, but sprinkling across it the new things and the new ideas and the new visions I have that will allow people to kind of like get their mind going and get their brain kind of, working to see, oh, this is not normal. This is not what I thought it was. This is something else. And so by the time, by the end of that, you'll realize you'll be thinking about how what you watched wasn't what you thought it was, and it was something completely else. And so I do that through characters, through plot, through in terms of more specific directing, through like scene descriptions in the script, or through like you can do it through wardrobe, you can do it through set design. So it's like all these things that a director has in his toolkit, is using those very intentionally and strategically so that I can craft a narrative that allows people to think something, to allow people to realize that what they thought something was is completely different than that.
You mentioned that you were originally from Oakland and then you moved down here to SoCal. You've been in the industry for roughly about 7 years. What have you learned throughout that time?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things I learned throughout that time is that I tend to put other people's needs before my own. And because I have such a big vision and such like an altruistic characteristic, I definitely tend to put other people's needs before my own, because I'm all about helping. Like I want to help people. I want to inspire people like to be the best selves they can be. I want to help people create the ideas they have. I want to help people push forward the visions they have for themselves. And because I have these skills and talents and knowledge, I want to be able to use that to pour into people. But there's been times during my, 7 years career out here, I just been like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have done this job for free to help this person out, because I have this, my own version of my own vision of what I want to create. Not to say that putting other people's needs before my own is a bad thing, because I definitely think that's a good relationship builder and it shows people like my true character. But for me, it kind of makes my process and getting to where I want to go slower, And I'm not concerned about going fast. I think it's just a natural part of the process. But yeah, I would definitely say that I can tend to put other people's needs before my own. And that doesn't put my own thing on the back burner. It just kind of moves at a slower pace. But that's definitely something I've learned, while I've been out here, just because I'm the kind of person I like to help people achieve their own visions and goals of what they want to create. Because I feel like I've been blessed and privileged with the opportunity to do so for myself. And so I want to see other people to be able to do the same. But in that, it kind of doesn't allow me to focus on my vision and what I have to do. So it's just a balance. So it's all about balance.
With you on that, and balance is definitely important. If people want to reach out and work with you, where can they find you at?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram at takai.design. That's TAKAI .design, DESIGN. Takai Design is a community in which I'm creating again for artists, visionaries, dreamers, and thought leaders to create this new vision of the world I have. Please reach out and go ahead and tap in if you guys want to hear more or want to get involved. You can also reach out to me on my Twitter handle, which is Takai the Artist, TAKAI the Artist. Yeah, so that's my Twitter. And then, I'm on there pretty constant. I'm responsive. And so, looking forward to reaching out, connecting with folks and, just pushing this vision I have. And if anybody's with it, come on, we're going to create and change the world together.
Definitely. And real quick, I know we are in the fourth quarter. It's December. It's almost a new year. What can people expect from you?
Yeah, I got some shit. I got
He's
some
working.
shit. What can people expect from me? People can expect a new social anthology series of 2 to 5 minute short films that highlight the possibilities of love in the 22nd century. And so one of my ideas is to create a Black Mirror-like series of short films, 2 to 5 minutes, but rather than highlighting and showcasing the world in a dystopian future with technology, it would highlight and showcase the world and the future rooted in love and human connection with with the possibilities and opportunities that we have and create ourselves. I like to say like I'm creating the 22nd century because I'm very forward thinking. Like my body is here, but my mind is like nigga,
Definitely,
100 years down
because
the line.
ain't nobody thinking like that. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's one thing I've kind of been creating and writing and ideating for like the past year and a half. And I say like my 2021 was like the year of, coming up with the concept, doing some of the writing. But my year of 2022 is about execution and getting it done. And so for me, what people can expect is a social anthology series about love, and it's in all its different forms. So that's something I'm super excited about.
Why about love?
Because love is the only answer to human existence. That's why. And that's what I strongly believe. I believe we lack love in a lot of aspects of our lives, and that we don't have an understanding and don't have a knowledge about the many different forms of love. Like we know how to make money, we know how to run businesses, we know how to run institutions, but love is something we desire as human beings. Like, and you have an example, like look at the pandemic. We were so separated, we were apart from one another, we were inside. We lacked that human connection. And what we wanted the most was to connect with other people. That human connection is just one form of love. There's 8 different ones. And so my thing and my thesis is being able to spread love through my art and through my creation, and to educate the world, educate people that without love, we're not, without love, we're only, I would say without love, we're only kind of like acting as animals in this world. But to be truly human, we have to be able to love one another. So that's why I want to spread love. And I feel like if there's anything I've been put here to do is to fuck hate and spread love. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we definitely can do that. Well, that is all I have for you today. Definitely tap in with him, guys. As he mentioned, once again, if you want to go ahead and say your social media handles.
Oh, my Instagram is takai.design, Takai.design, Takai.design on Instagram. And my Twitter is Takai the Artist. That's TAKAI THEARTIST. Yeah, Takai the Artist, that's who I am. That's what I go by. I had Takai the Artist on Instagram, but Instagram fucked me over, deleted my account and did some other shit. And
Okay.
so I had to run with Takai.design. But yeah, reach out, tap in, let's change the world.
All right, there you go. And don't forget, y'all, free press is good press.